What up, Packer fans? Back again. It is Bears week. It's going to be the 205th meeting between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, which makes it the longest running rivalry in the NFL. Pretty cool. Sunday Night Football. It's going to be awesome at Lambeau, not in Chicago. I like the vibe in Chicago when, Rodgers, I own you. That was funny. But now we got the home field advantage. That'll help. I think it'll help settle these young guys down. Being on the road, your first game, that's tough. That's why I still think, the Watson should have caught it. Still think that, but I think that was a lot of pressure early in the game. First, all those things. Still should have caught it, but tough. I think being at home at Lambeau is going to help these guys. I think everybody's going to settle down a little bit, get back into some smash mouth football, running the ball, and hopefully this defense kind of gets back on track. They were talking a lot of chatter before the season started about them being a number one defense, and I don't even know where they're ranked, but I don't even want to know. I don't know how much, I think they do a ranking after week one, but I'm guessing it's not very high. So anyway, Bears were leading the overall record. Right now it's 103 wins for the Packers to 95 wins for the Bears with 6 ties. Most of those ties happened back earlier before like the Super Bowl era. But the Bears were leading, by a lot after the 80s, and then into, Favre kind of was making a dent in some of those, in some of that, in the record. And now since Rodgers has taken over, which he said he's proud to be part of, and they are now 8 games up, like I said, 103 to 95. So that's huge. He is pumped about that. He's 22-5 all time against the Chicago Bears. That's crazy to think about, and 5 losses, but still, this is a whole new year, whole new team. Chicago's coming off a pretty crazy win in the rain against the 49ers. 49ers were favored. Trey Lance, first game, they had Jimmy G on the bench. Looked like they struggled. They only scored 10 points. Bears struggled in the first half. I know Fields really struggled. He had like 3 incompletions and an interception, and then in the second half went off for 2 touchdowns. It's gonna be quite a game. I'll get to some more of that later. But so far, Packers roster transactions. Barnes did go on IR. Thought he would. He is on IR. That means he can come back at some point in the season. I think he will. I don't think it's a super major injury, but we will see how that goes. Tough though for Barnes. They did sign Caleb Jones. I did mention that yesterday, but he is on the active roster. He might have gotten stolen by another team. I know there's teams looking for tackles. We know, like Cowboys, kind of. They did sign the veteran, so I think he's 40 years old, Jason Peters. So, but I know other teams. Tampa had a guy go down, and Packers did not want to lose Caleb Jones. They just like what he's been doing. It's interesting they didn't sign an inside linebacker because of the injury to Barnes, but that means that Quay Walker probably will be ready to go, and he was a full participant today at practice, along with Keisean Nixon, who was knocked out, or he was injured in the Vikings game. And, John Runyon Jr., he was the only one who was not a participant at practice today, which means that David Bakhtiari, the left tackle, and Elgton Jenkins both were limited participants at practice, but still, they practice. And the big news of the day was Alan Lazard being back at practice. He was a limited participant, but still, he was at practice. He should be on pace to play on Sunday. I think Jenkins has a good shot at playing. Lazard has a good shot at playing, but Bakhtiari will still be a guy that likely will not play. I just think they're going to be cautious with him. I did hear a lot of stuff about them, just not thinking that he was going to be ready. I think he might be at some point. Now, I never really thought. I thought maybe that some of that was fake news, but I don't think that they're going to give up on him that easy. A lot of people say cut him, cut him, cut him. I don't know why you do that. You got to pay him anyway. And so, I think that a lot of that's fake news, and he will be fine. I think they're just being cautious, and they'll bring him on slowly. Yash has played okay. He's played well enough to not have to be in a big panic about Bakhtiari. And if Jenkins comes back, that will solidify one side of the offensive line. I think that would kick Royce Newman to right guard, which would really help. Take Jake Hansen out of there. You could throw Zach Tom in at left guard if John Runyan Jr. is hurt, or if you don't like Royce Newman at right guard, you can have Zach Tom there. I just want Zach Tom out there. I think a lot of people are talking like they want Zach Tom out there. Rodgers did come out and say that he's a little undersized, but he's smart and he wants to do well and he wants to learn. So I think he's a really good player. He on the longest run of the game, the 29-yarder for the Packers, he was the one that pulled and kicked out, blocked, and then on the touchdown, he had a really nice second effort and they got the ball in the end zone. And that was the only touchdown play of the game. So to be a major point of the big plays of the game, or some of the big plays of the game for the Packers, you can't look past that when it comes to Zach Tom. I think he's a guy that should be out there, and I think John Runyan Jr. will not play, so I think Tom will be at left guard. But right guard and right tackle is going to be open for question. We'll see what they do. I'm not really sure what they're thinking on Jake Hansen. We all saw him get beat real bad, and it's going to be tough for them to really go a different way, but we'll see what they do. I just want Jenkins back. If Bakhtiari came back and Jenkins came back, I really like the idea of putting Zach Tom out there, Josh Myers at center, and then throwing Sean Ryan in there at guard, whatever one Zach Tom doesn't play. I think Ryan at 6'4", 320, he was the best run blocking guard in the FBS last year for UCLA. I think he can be really good. Maybe he hasn't come on as quick as they wanted him to, but I think if you have Bakhtiari in the left side, Jenkins right next to him, Myers in the middle, I think he can thrive in that situation. So something to watch. We'll see how it all plays out. I think that's going to be the line that we go forward with. To me, that's the best, the upsides of the two rookie guards, and then obviously with Jenkins and Bakhtiari. So awesome to have this team, knock on wood, so healthy at this moment. Barnes going down. He is the third inside linebacker, but Quay Walker, like I said, him being back, that's huge. I didn't think it was going to be a major thing with the shoulder, but you never know. So the signing of Caleb Jones, though, and the putting Barnes on IR, the Packers signed safety Mike Brown, 6'1", 220 pounds, out of Miami, Ohio, the same school that Ben Roethlisberger went to. But yes, a safety. So not even another linebacker. Packers already have, I think, 11 or 10 offensive linemen. So now with Caleb Jones, that's 11. But that's the route they're going, and I think they're happy with their team. But they do have a lot of safeties now. It was kind of a position of of stress before, with Vernon Scott and Sean Davis, and then, Savage got hurt, and then, just issues, with Enos Gaines got hurt too, and then, but Abernathy came in, did well, Levitt did well, so, they're bringing another guy, so I think it's going to be good. Like I said, I'm just excited that Alan Lazard could be back. That's going to be huge. Wide receiver 1. He was slated to be number 1. He was supposed to come in and be 1. This guy is 6'5", 227 pounds. He runs a 4.55 40. Devontae ran a 4.56. So he's bigger than Devontae by like 4 inches. He weighs a little more than Devontae, but he runs technically faster than Devontae. So this guy, technically, he could, nobody's Devontae with the footwork, I get it, but I'm just kind of comparing, physical tools and attributes. Like I said, Doubs is about the same body type as Devontae. I think Lazard, he was limited in practice, but it's just another guy that needs to get touches. So it's, you add him to already kind of a busy offense, and guys who already didn't get enough touches last week against the Vikings, and now you add a guy that is going to want to demand some touches. So He is a big target, probably the best run blocking wide receiver in the NFL. People say Cooper Kupp. He's a little undersized to really be a dominant run blocker, but he's effective. I won't say he isn't, but still, I think Lazard is the best at that. That helps. Obviously, the running game wasn't the issue, though. They really did run the ball well. They just need to run the ball more. Um, we'll see if they get to that. I think that they're going to want to kind of run the ball, settle these guys down, and then open up the pass a little bit. Going for broke, 75-yarder on the first play. It was awesome. I love that. I love the play. I love the design. I almost would rather have ran it to Sammy Watkins, though, somebody who's kind of been in that moment and ready to rock. It would have been sweet. It would have been historical. I know it would have been so cool, but hopefully he gets him back this week. I think they do try again with Watson, and I think he catches it this time. I really, really do. But ESPN asked why wasn't Jair on Justin Jefferson during his 184-yard performance? It's a basic answer, and it's simple. It comes down to Joe Barry and his zone scheme. If you look back to the Rams a few years ago when he had Jalen Ramsey, they did the similar things with Jalen Ramsey. He wouldn't have Ramsey on anybody in particular. He would just have him kind of cover, or like on the left side or on the right side, just kind of cover that one side, and whoever came over to that side, it would be his guy, and he'd be on the farthest outside. So when you see that video with Preston Smith lined up on Jefferson, it's because, maybe Jair was on Jefferson, but then when the other guy came farther outside of Jefferson, Jair now gets kicked outside. The linebacker has to come in. I don't know how the play all went at first, but that's just kind of the concept, how it works out. I wish they would have had a safety come down, but, in that zone scheme, the safety's responsibility is different. It's not going to be like a one-on-one man-to-man situation, but it was tough to watch. It was tough to watch Jair, and then the one play that sticks out to me was the time when he was covering him and Jefferson had a offensive pass interference. But then I saw this other video where I don't know if Jair got to Jefferson late or if he was kind of just in motion, but Jefferson got him and took him one way and shaked him and had him spun around, and it was wide open. So I don't know what happened or if Jair was expecting help from one way or another, but he was burned and kind of lost. So, but still, I think the scheme had a lot to do with a lot of what happened. They need to clean some things up, fix some things, but that's the basic answer for why Jair wasn't on Jefferson the whole game. It's just that zone concept. Each guy's kind of got an area, a zone of the field, and they just stay within their zone. And so when he's playing outside, it's kind of he covers the guy that's in front of him on the outside. So it's tough, though. It's tough to watch. It's like, you have to make adjustments as coaches, and that's what's such a big deal about halftime changes, halftime adjustments, mid-game adjustments, after the first quarter. They're always changing, always doing things, but to see your team get torched the way it did and not really do anything to change it, that was really hard to see. But I think they'll clean some of that stuff up. I hope that they learn from that, and I hope Jair talks to the guys and says, hey, let me cover the wide receiver one. It may not be perfect, but it's going to be a lot better than what happened on Sunday against the Vikings. So I just should have brought this up when we were talking Watson before, but Christian Watson is, over the course of this week, has really taken a lot of hits when it comes to dropping that pass. People are saying that these receivers, because of that, are not going to be enough for Rodgers. He's going to use it as scapegoat, and then you see Devontae go off for 10 catches, 141 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and then you wonder, well, did they make the right choice? The Packers only had, I think, 10 catches for receivers with 120 yards total. So that's just really, obviously that'll improve. A.J. Dillon can't be your leading receiver, but that's just such a crazy overreaction early on, week 1, to say that, okay, because he dropped that pass, now these Packers rookies aren't ready and aren't going to be good enough. I really think that Romeo Doubs, once he gets his chances, he can be really good. besides running the wrong route once, which, that's going to happen. That happens to Devontae too, sometimes where they're on the different page. But obviously, Dobbs should have ran it out. But still, once he gets some of his reps, I think he can be really good. I think he can be a wide receiver 1. I really think he can be. I think Watson could be a really, really good wide receiver 2. And then you throw like Cobb and Watkins in as like slot guys. But then you have Alan Lazard, who's a wide receiver 1 too. So I think, it can be a really, really effective receiving core. It really can. I'm excited to see how it just all develops. Like I said, these young guys are going to take time. There's so many guys now that are going to demand touches. We already know that Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon need the ball more. We know that. We know that Alan Lazard's going to come in as wide receiver 1 and demand touches. Last year, Devontae had like over 160 targets, 170 targets. That's got to go to somebody. Lazard's going to want a lot of those. And then you have, like I said, Cobb, Watkins. You have Tanyan. DeGuara's going to, and then the rookies, Watson and Dobbs. So that's a lot of guys who are going to want touches. That means that the Packers offense needs to get first downs, keep the ball going, keep the drive moving, and then defense has to stop somebody. They did okay. They forced some punts. The score should have been way worse than it was based on how the Packers offense played. But Packers defense needs to get some turnovers, have more than one sack, have a turnover, get some 3 and outs, get the ball back for their offense. And like I said, the offense has to keep the ball and do something with it. So I really do think Packers go back to Watson. That was really a good play call early on. Like I said, they burned Patrick Peterson and they got him down the field, and Watson ran a good route. He got his guys spun around, and he is a burner. Like, he would have been gone. 4.3 speed, he would have been gone. So it's tough to see him drop it, but I really think these rookies will be okay. Like I said, I think Dobbs has the potential to be really, really good. We saw him make some good catches. They were pretty easy catches, but he did it with ease. He really did well. I think I don't know if he dropped one or officially had a drop. For the most part, I think he caught everything that was thrown his way. Watson didn't get a ball from Rodgers from the first quarter to the fourth quarter after that drop, but he caught the ball. And then Jordan Love hit him with 2 at the end in that garbage time. 2 out of the 4 that Love completed were to Watson. I think the other 2 were to DeGuara, who got up and was kind of frisky at the end of the game, even though Packers were way down. It was kind of funny. He was pushing guys, and I think Jordan Hicks was messing with him on the ground, like holding him down and trying to kind of make him delay. And DeGuara wasn't having any of that, so was pushing him off and stuff. But I was, it's a little aggressive for how bad they got beat. But I understand the frustration, and now dude's messing with you. I get it. So is what it is. Still tough loss. Try to move on. Hard to talk about what we want to do good next week this week against the Bears when when all the stuff that happened wrong last week against the Vikings is so fresh. But so now, Fields last weekend, against the Niners on Sunday, we know he struggled in the first half. Like I said, 3 incompletions, 1 interception. Was a tough day, but there was standing water on the field. It was crazy. It was bad. But after that, he came in. Second half, third quarter, started getting the ball moving, making some throws, 2 touchdown passes. The first one was a real crazy broken play, like I was talking about. It was like rolling left, kind of scrambling around, and Dante Pettis got wide open. He was in the middle of the field, wide open, 51-yard bomb touchdown. And then the next touchdown was a nice drive. Got the ball going. Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery, they're 2 running backs. These guys both had some touches, had some carries. I think Herbert had more yards, but Montgomery had more touches. He just didn't have as many yards. Both are capable of catching the ball to the backfield. Both these guys can be utilized in, a lot of different ways. And with Fields back there running RPOs and 2 real capable backs, this offense, it's not horrible. Their offensive line isn't very good. So that's an area the Packers can exploit totally. We just have to really put pressure on Fields. Issue is going to be trying to keep him in the pocket, keep him in front of us, things of that nature. Fields in that second half really started to open it up, started to kind of knock off that rust. We're going to need to try to use a QB spy on him. It's hard to rush 3 or 4 and stay all in your lanes because there's just too many lanes anyway. It just opens things up, and guys can run around, and Fields has speed, so we're gonna need a QB spy him either with Quay Walker, Devondre Campbell, maybe a Savage here and there, Amos too. But you're going to need a guy that's kind of keeps an eye on him just so we don't let him get away. It's going to be tough, but, Fields is so athletic. He's got a big arm. He's kind of like Trey Lance, just a little inaccurate, but very super hyper athletic. And, he does – his skill set kind of scares me. It does. It really does because his skill set's so high. I feel like his coaching around him and some of, the weapons they have, he doesn't have enough to work with, and so he's not reached his full potential, so it's not as scary. But he's a guy that if he did get all the right things to kind of mesh, he could be really, really a threat to dominate certain teams just because he is really a talented guy. I like his skill set, like I said, but I think the Packers can keep him in check, put pressure on him. Like I said, he's really inaccurate. He's going to struggle if you get guys in his face. The defense has to cover on the back and cover long enough for the pressure to get there. Just keep that QB spy so that he knows there's a guy there, knows he's not going to get away. Walker or Campbell both can run with them. He is fast, but he's not going to want to take a big hit and all those things. So quarterbacks run a little bit different. And we need Gary and Preston Smith and Kenny Clark and this D-line, Reed and Wyatt to step up. And Dean Lowry, I know he makes some plays, but we need these guys to really get after it. It's going to be huge up front. Like I said, the offensive line for the Bears is an area of weakness. So is, wide receiver. And Cole Kmet, tight end, he's pretty good. And their defense is decent. I think it's the better of the two, but Justin Fields, if he can play like he did in the second half of last week against the Niners, he's going to be tough to beat. He is going to be tough to beat. With Darnell Mooney, they have a guy that's a decent, he's their wide receiver 1, but he'd probably be like a 2 or 3 on other teams. He's still a really good receiver. And then just a mix of other guys, like I keep saying, these guys can play. And so Fields has enough weapons around him. Maybe they're not guys that are going to really dominate you, but they're guys that can go out and make plays, consistently enough that they can be a threat. Coming off of the win, they have some confidence. They weren't favored. They feel like they can, if they win this, they're 2-0. They got a game ahead of, a game on the Packers. Like I said, Rodgers has only lost 5 against the Bears in his whole career. 18 years, he's only lost 5. So, 8 times in Rodgers' career, he had 0 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's only lost to the Bears 5 times in his career, and he just lost last week. So and last week he had 0 touchdowns and 1 interception. So that's only happened 8 times now with last week. And after a loss, which we just lost, Rodgers is 8-0 in the last 3 seasons with 22 touchdowns and 0 picks. So if you add that to the fact that the Bears have only beat him 5 times, and then add the fact that Rodgers is pretty much unstoppable after a loss with Matt LaFleur, and especially after a 0 touchdown, 1 interception game, crazy. It's all crazy. But Rodgers usually doesn't have 2 bad games in a row. This team usually doesn't have 2 bad games in a row. The defense, coaching. There's a lot of new moving parts, new coaches this year. There's just a lot of new players and a little new schemes, new wrinkles, things of that nature. So a lot of that stuff takes some time to kind of work out. Obviously, they don't do the preseason, so they don't get a lot of that stuff. Some of these young guys haven't really prepared to be ready for a game day. They don't really have a routine or and a schedule down, and like I said, being on the road can be tough. So kind of just look past that first week. We did it last year. To me, all season, I was like, that was just a preseason game because our starters didn't play. And then we went on that 7-game win streak. So kind of look at it like that. If we win, it'll kind of cure everything, right? But if we keep losing, then we'll keep questioning what's going on. But, obviously we know winning fixes everything, of course. But Rodgers hasn't thrown before Sunday. Rodgers had not thrown an interception in the division since 2019, and he didn't lose a fumble all of last year. So he got that all out of the way week 1 against the Vikings. He lost the fumble, and he threw an interception in the division. Yeah, so I don't know if that's a sign of bad things to come or if that means that everything bad's already out the way, because it didn't ever happen it didn't happen at all last year, and now it's already happened. So maybe it's done happening because probability said it had to happen at some point, but now it's done, and we'll go on another season of sheer dominance. I'm thinking it's going to be the latter. I think these receivers are going to get going, and once the running backs and like the receivers kind of click together, where you can use the run to feed off the pass, to use the run, and all the back and forth. Use the run to open up the pass. All those things. And the defense can kind of get in rhythm and make some stops here. I know it's offensive league. Teams are going to score points, but it's bend but don't break. Force them to kick field goals, and then your offense has to score at least 30. If the Packers would have scored 30, they would have won. So, that first one dropped would have been a touchdown. That's 7. At the goal line, they got stuffed. That's another 7. They did score 7, so that's, that would have been 21. And then they had 3rd and 1 at the 20-yard line, and then they had 4th and 1 where he threw it into the end zone to Tanyan. If we could have got a first there and scored a touchdown, we're at 28, 23, or what? Yeah, it was 23. So we had the opportunities to score enough points to win, and 28 would have got us there, even with all the things happening and getting burned by Jefferson and not really having much up front defensive-wise or turnover-wise or sack-wise. There was enough opportunities for this offense to score enough points to win, and they just didn't seize the opportunities. So I think it'll be different. Like I said, they knock out all the rust. Another week. They're at home. It's just going to help them. So I'm excited. So I don't do a lot of gambling or betting, but this might be one that I check out, because I don't think the Packers are going to beat the Bears by 10 unless, so the Bears were slated as going to be a really bad team this year. They come out last week, beat the 49ers. Packers lost to the Vikings. The Bears come out last weekend, beat the 49ers. I don't know what the line was, but I'm sure it was something around 10. It sounds about right. And so they come out and they win. Now they have the confidence, Now they're 1-0. The Packers are 0-1. They can really jump on them. They have pieces. They know they stop Trey Lance and the 49ers. I really think that's going to be huge for them, even though the weather was crazy. So for the line to open at 10, and, it's kind of a big favorite in an NFL game. The average NFL game is decided by 4 points or less. And so 10 is huge, and especially a divisional game, Sunday Night Football, prime time. I just really don't think it's going to be a 10-point game. I think it's going to be close, and the Bears want to win this game. They want to show up. Rodgers and the Packers. Packers are really going to have to come out. The Bears are going to punch them in the mouth early, probably try to get up on top of them, try to, suck the air out of the stadium, out of the fans and everything. So the Packers have to withstand that and then jump back on them and score points, run the ball, get people. I don't think we did, end arounds to the Dobbs and Watson, but there wasn't a whole lot of crazy misdirection. Some of that stuff the Niners do where you're just like, where is everybody? But it's just, Bears were projected to be bad this year. And, coming off a win and getting some confidence, that's all some of these teams need, is just a little confidence that they can play with the other team. And it, any given Sunday, like I said. So Packers really have to be on their heels or on their toes, just ready to go and ready to rock. Offensive line, we'll see. Tomorrow's going to be huge for the progression of the players. We'll see where guys are at. Obviously, we're at home, so it's the travel day doesn't really hinder health and all those things, and health watch and where guys are at, because they won't have to travel or they will travel. And so now they can just stay at home, and it'll be a real game time decision for real. Lazard, I think, will be ready. And like I said, I think Bakhtiari might not be, but Jenkins, if we get those guys back, it's going to be a huge boost. This Packers team is healthy. Their guys are really good. We just got to get them in the right scheme and just get everybody comfortable. Communication is key, and just being patient with some of these young guys, not putting too much pressure on them too early, like a 75-yard bomb on the first play of the game. But I like the call. He should have caught it, but I still think it was a lot of pressure. So going into this Bears game, it's going to be nuts. But like I keep saying, we need to run the ball. Dillon and Jones, I think they should have at least 35 touches, combined. That means 35 receptions or carries between the two of them. It's maybe 15 for one or 20 for the other, or 18 and 17, however you want to split it up. But I think, Jones maybe should get a few more rushes than he did. Maybe he should have 10, but he should get some more receptions out of the backfield. He's so dynamic. And then Dillon needs to get more rushes. He needs to just be that workhorse back that kind of grinds out the yards when you need some. And they do need to, 3rd and 1, you got to run the ball. If you're going to go for it on 4th, run the ball on 3rd. If he doesn't get it, then throw it on 4th or whatever, even try to run it again. You don't throw it twice and just not even short little easy quick plays where you get the first either way. You're throwing them seam routes into double coverage to Tanya. I just didn't understand that. So run the ball. Don't be afraid to run the ball. Obviously, if you're going to run the ball and the defensive end crashes down, keep it and score, because it's a 1 yard. It was 1 yard. But so, a lot of things that the Packers can learn from last week. Wasn't great. A lot of kinks, a lot of rust. But I think that, if they stick with the run game, like I've been saying, this offensive line can just kind of relax a little bit. They're moving forward. They're just trying to push. They don't have to pass block as much. That really does put a lot of stress on a young offensive line. We need to do quicker passes, maybe more screens, open up just the quick throws and safe throws, things of that nature. Get it into the playmakers' hands and let them kind of do the work. Watson and Dobbs, with the ball in their hand, they can be really effective, I think. Watkins and Cobb as well are shifty. Cobb's a little older now, but and having Lazard, like I said, that's going to be huge. Really is going to be huge. But the key to this game is going to be defense. Really is if we can't contain Justin Fields, it's going to be a long night, and I really believe that. And if up front, if the defense, the scheme is whack, Darnell Mooney, he's not Justin Jefferson. He's not Justin Jefferson at all, not even close. He's not even probably top 20 or 30 in the league, but he's good enough that if you leave him open, as wide open as Justin Jefferson was, he will burn you the same way. He's talented enough to do that if he's got the space like Jefferson had, but I'm pretty sure any wide receiver could. So it really is important that the Packers play a lot better. They the safeties, Darnell Savage, who I like a lot. He kind of was coming off of that injury, but his hamstring, but I just think that he is a ball hawk. He's really talented. Adrian Amos, I have him so highly regarded. I have him like right under Derwin James of the Los Angeles Chargers. I really think he is really a good safety, but they both were graded the lowest they've ever been graded in an NFL game by PFF against the Vikings. Both of them at the same time in the same game were graded the lowest they've ever been in their careers. Amos has been in the league for quite a while now. I think it's almost like his 7th year, maybe even longer, 8th year. And Savage has been in the league for a while. He came in the league when Gary got drafted, so a few years ago. But yeah, these guys, they won't play that bad again. Eric Stokes was really graded low as well. He won't play that bad again. I know Devondre Campbell wasn't as efficient and effective as he normally is. So you can't, when you have your worst ever, you're likely not going to beat that again. So, well, hopefully. But I think that it'll be fine, and I think they're going to bounce back, and this defense is going to be in position, and they're going to get Fields a few times. Hopefully, we can hold them to more field goals, less touchdowns, try to keep us close this time and make it a game. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be 10 points, though. That's a lot. That's a big spread. So, like I said, run the ball. Touches has been the biggest point of emphasis when it comes to what the Packers need to do. You can't give all these guys touches. I brought it up before. Lazard, Cobb, Watkins, Tanyan, Jones, Dillon, Dobbs, Watson, Deguara. They all need more touches. They all would be benefit, from having extra carries or extra receptions. And all these guys can really make plays. I mean, I know they were high on Tyler Davis, but he had a catch, but he won't even really get in the mix. But, Packers need to keep these guys, fresh and ready and going and keep them involved. And it's hard to do that when you're, 3 and out or when you're not really being successful on offense. The defense can't get you the ball back. I just think that there's a lot to work on here, and adding Lazard, it's going to be hard to really kind of work through all this real fast. It's going to take some time, and I think we should lean on the run, Dillon and Jones, see if that can carry us to a win. If Rodgers can get going on offense with the receivers, maybe you can lean on that, but I would start with just trying to run the ball and try to keep it just simple for these young guys. It's this Bears defense is going to be tough. Eddie Jackson, he's been around for a while. He's kind of been part of the Bears defense that's been there for quite some years now and been one of the guys that, Rodgers knows well. Roquan Smith. Rodgers had nothing but nice things to say about Roquan. He wished that he would have been traded this offseason. He really is a guy that's sideline to sideline. He can really disrupt a lot of things. And, this defense, it doesn't have Akeem Hicks, doesn't have Khalil Mack, but last week they really harassed Trey Lance. They held the 49ers to 10 points. I know the weather, but still, the Bears scored 19, and they have a worse team according to everybody. So, interesting to see how this all works out. Lucas Patrick, he was Packers offensive lineman last year. He is going to be the only Bears captain for this game. Found that to be interesting. He's going to be back at Lambeau for his first game as a Packer, but I thought he was injured. I guess maybe he is back, but I didn't really actually look into that, but I thought he was hurt. So if he is hurt and he's just doing a tribute type of captain thing, then that's one thing. But I thought, they signed him, they gave him some money, they signed him, they paid him more than the Packers wanted to. So he did go to the Chicago Bears, and we'll see another ex-Packer like we did last week. Zadarius Smith, and we had Chandon Sullivan. Didn't really bring him up much. He wasn't really a factor in the game too much, but he is on the Vikings. So now we have Lucas Patrick. So, but I have thought this was interesting. Final thought, real quick. Final note. Amari Rodgers. I've been talking about him for a while. Don't really think he's effective on offense. 4 catches last year. He really hasn't been a guy that's been point of confidence for Rodgers. He's run the wrong routes. He's not understanding the verbiage and all those things in practice. So Rodgers was asked during an interview, so Amari's not been up there for an offensive snap. He hasn't really been doing much in practice. Last week against the Vikings, he didn't get one offensive snap. What's going on? And Rodgers said, yeah, he's returning for us right now, meaning kick returning right now or punt returning. And that's all I got on that one. And that was it. And that's crazy because that's a 3rd round draft pick a couple years ago, that they really want to be a guy that can play. He's undersized at 5'9". He did go to Clemson. He was drafted so high. He's got some speed, but just not, connecting when it comes to the wide receiver part of the NFL. Looks like they pretty much have wrote him off as a receiver and are just looking at him as kick returner, which is odd to me. I know they had him in the backfield a little bit, but how do you take carries out of Jones and Dillon's hands? Jones is faster, quicker, more agile than Amari, and is a running back. I mean, I wouldn't take it out. Amari's basically trying to be Aaron Jones, and he's just not quite good enough if he wants to be a running back, but he wants to be a receiver. I wouldn't take it out of A.J. Dillon's hand either. I mean, Amari Rodgers is not even close to him. I think if you had some misdirections where you had them both out there, if you had Jones and Amari, and you could run some crazy misdirections, maybe then Amari would get it. But just to take it out of Jones's hand and give it to Amari instead, I don't see them doing that. Obviously, offense. I just read you guys the list of Packers. Read off the Packers list of wide receivers. So it's like with all those guys, and they even have Winfrey, who was out there last week against the Vikings too. So he's another guy. So Amari Rodgers doesn't have a chance really at wide receiver, which that means, like I said, it's his only real opportunity is kick return, punt return. What has he been doing there? Absolutely nothing. He really has not done anything, and that's the issue. I just don't see where his spot on this team is. And if I'm starting to see that, I think the Packers are probably starting to see that. Bears have a porous kick coverage team. It's, I'm not guaranteeing that he should have a kick return touchdown, but there should be some success. If we get, hopefully there's not too many chances at kickoff returns. That means that the Bears are scoring. But if they do get an opportunity, or Rodgers does get an opportunity to return a kick, he should have some success. And if he doesn't, then I think if he gets one chance and it's, he doesn't, it could be a missed block or something. You can't base it all on that. But, if he gets a few opportunities and he actually has, a chance to run it back, and something he does messes it up, or he makes a wrong cut, or just gets tackled real easy by somebody, whatever happens, there's all kinds of scenarios and situations. But I'm looking for, if he gets an opportunity to return a kick, him having success. And if he doesn't, there's guys that you can put back there that can not have success too, that you don't have to waste roster spots on because they're valuable other areas. This guy's basically just back there just for that. He's not valuable anywhere else. That's his only spot on the roster. And if he's not going to cut it there either, then I don't see why they can't move on from him, find somebody else. I don't know what kind of free agent acquisitions possibilities there are for a kick returner, but there's always guys that are, and I think they could find somebody. But there's other guys on this team. I know Dobbs and Watson can probably return kicks. I know that there's guys on the defensive side of the ball that might be able to. I know Randall Cobb has returned punch in the past, but I know that hopefully they're hoping for Kylan Hill to get back soon so that he can get back there and return kicks again. But right now it's Amari Rodgers, and we'll see what he can do this weekend. Hopefully he fights for his job and he busts a big return. We need one. We didn't talk about special teams really at all because there was no real issues. Nothing bad happened. Nothing real good happened. They got one extra point. They didn't have a punt block, 3 punts inside the 20. So good things, nothing bad. So we don't really talk about them. But if Amari Rodgers can bust a kickoff return, for just excite the crowd, get the Packers fans into it. It's at Lambeau, Sunday Night Football under the lights. Do something, be electrifying, and fight for your spot on this roster. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a question mark moving forward. So that's it. Bears week, you guys. I am so excited. I cannot wait. I wanted to stay up and just do this. It is getting late. I am going to go to bed. But thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Watch other Packers videos and check out other videos in the area below. And don't forget to comment and all those things. Make friends in the comments, and I'm so excited about the Packers. I can't wait. Bears week has always been one of my favorite weeks. I've always, living in Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin and just southern Wisconsin in general, you have a lot of Illinois people and Bears fans, and it just can be a really fun time because obviously the rivalry is thick and people really are excited about their teams, and people just really are, sometimes it can get a little crazy. It can, but for the most part, it is fun, and it's just awesome to see these guys. Go at it because it means so much to both fan bases, and we just want our teams to win and do well, and it's cool when you get to have some bragging rights for the week after. And for the most part, Packers have been able to have bragging rights over the Bears for the last 30 years since Favre and Rodgers. But this is a whole new season. Like I said, a whole nother game. We're 0-1. They're 1-0, and they're coming to Lambeau. So, all right, guys. Thanks again. Peace out. Go Packers. See you guys in the next one.